Cancer, this is your August tarot reading. So far they've been interesting, not necessarily brilliant. I hope you get something from it, whatever. Cancer, I'm immediately drawn to the middle card, the Tower card. Sudden and abrupt ending, not a welcome ending. But often the Tower comes when it's needed, when we need to rebuild. Is this about global events? I think so. I think we really do need to rebuild the world, don't we? Rebuild the world on love and trust instead of greed and lies. So I think that's what it's all about. In the past, we have the Knight of Swords, brave, bold, fearless knight. Currently we have the Nine of Cups, many blessings, probably including monetary blessings. But he is by himself. I don't know if that's significant or not. In the future we have the energy of the Fool, new beginnings, starting over again with a wide-eyed innocence. Well, that would fit in with the Tower card, very much so. The card that leads to the outcome is the Seven of Pentacles, saving for the future. Long-term view of things. Seems to make perfect sense if there's been such turmoil in the world. There is a warning here, and that is that we won't reach the outcome if we focus too much on the Five of Swords, somebody trying to win at all costs. I think that's just you focusing on retribution for what's happened in the world. I might be wrong though. And the outcome, it fits in completely because it's the Wheel of Fortune card. A cycle ending and a new cycle beginning, which hopefully we've learned from. And, there has to be a new cycle beginning after a Tower. So as I say, it makes perfect sense. I really do believe we're entering a new world. The Wheel of Fortune should bring with it luck. But it's not guaranteed. I do see very positive things on the horizon, but only if all of us can continue to be positive. And I'll hope you'll stay around and listen to the rest of this while I try and encourage you to create a better world. Now the Tower card dominates this entire reading, and we have to recognise that. And the Tower, it's a tower falling down. Your entire world is changing, it's falling down. You're going to have to rebuild your world, and I think it's not just your world, it is the world we're talking of here. Everything has gone completely wrong, and we need to start again from afresh, from the bottom up. Now there's another tarot reader on YouTube. Much more. I get hardly any people watching mine, but he's very popular, and he always interprets the Tower positively and says, well, it has to happen. Sometimes we have to start again. It's necessary because we were building on wrong foundations. Now I don't always, normally when I see the Tower I'm quite pessimistic, but I've got to say I think it's absolutely necessary. It must be apparent to most of you listening to this that there's something radically wrong with the world, and we can't trust any of our institutions. We can no longer trust anything. Everything is completely corrupted, and it's a case of starting off again from the ground up, and that's what the Tower implies. Last energy is that of the Knight of Swords. He's an admirable knight. He's brave, bold, fearless, fast. Sometimes a little too fast. Not as bad as the Knight of Wands. But it might be a warning that you've rushed into conclusions. Might be. I don't know. I think it's probably just telling us that you're brave and you're fearless. Maybe you're feeling a little bit less brave and fearless now, because maybe you don't quite know what you should be doing. maybe. And the current energy is that of the Nine of Cups. I'd almost always interpret this as a good card. I mean, it's multiple blessings. You look at him, he's sitting there on a lovely throne in his finery. The cups behind him, which are blessings, probably material blessings. The only thing I'd say is he's by himself. However, we've just had this card in a different placement, I might add, for Aries, and it was a warning against complacency. Now, there's nothing to suggest that I should be interpreting it that way for you. I think it's just meaning that right now things don't feel too bad. So it's before the fall, before this tower coming down. Right now you're feeling quite secure, feeling quite wealthy, feeling quite privileged, in fact. Now your future card is that of the Fallen, and this makes complete sense to me. Oh, of course, it makes sense coming after the last one. So, you had many blessings, privileged. I don't want to say you were complacent, because there's no indication that you were, but let's say that maybe it was a little bit complacent, because now comes the fall, the tower, and so you have to start your life again. But you start with a wide-eyed innocence, with a childlike innocence, You look at the card, there he is with all his belongings on a stick on his back, and he's going off in search of adventure, and he's going to find it, and his dog's running behind him, shouting out, "You're about to step over a cliff." So yes, sometimes it won't all go according to plan, but others it will, and we take the rough with the smooth. But this is the right thing to be doing. Now, what leads to the outcome, and I believe the outcome to be a very good outcome, in fact, what leads to the outcome is you saving for the future, putting down long-term savings. And that seems to be a sensible thing to do. Normally, I'd always interpret this as sort of money, financial investments, but given all that's happening in the world, I'm not too certain it is. It's certainly putting down long-term plans and sort of wanting assets to accumulate, if you like. I suppose the best way of describing it is, I've got teak trees in my garden and they take forever to grow, but they're worth a fortune. And even if we no longer have money in the near future, or in the midterm even, they're still going to be valuable, aren't they? Because you're still going to want teak. It's a good product. But what would change the outcome is someone trying to win at all costs, someone not playing fair. Now, of course, it could be you, It's the exact opposite to the way I see you going. But no, it could be you. But I think it's much more likely that you're reflecting on the fact that what has caused this tower moment, what has caused the problems in the world, is people being greedy, people not playing fair, people wanting to take everything and quite willing to destroy the world and humanity in doing so. You look at the cards, they've had a fight with those swords, and he's not only taken their swords, but I think he's whacked them on the bottom with a sword, And it's very playgroundish, isn't it? When I was at primary school, we used to play marbles, and I never liked it because if you lost, they took your marbles, and it's like, no, I like my marbles. I prefer my collection than winning even, So they're walking away and saying, well, if you're going to be like that, we're not going to play it. And I think that's the way we all need to be thinking. Yeah. And the outcome, as I say, it's a good outcome. It's the Wheel of Fortune. So, This is cycles coming to an end, new cycles beginning. Well, that follows. We've had a tower moment. I've said you have to rebuild. But, normally I'd associate this. You have learned from the cycle, and it will bring luck with it. So I'd see it as a good thing. And I think this isn't solely personal. I think this is about global issues. We're going to have to rebuild the world, rebuild civilization, because of it's been destroyed. And the faith of many people, like myself, who've supported many lost causes over the years, they've lost people like me now, completely. I have no faith whatsoever in anybody in authority, in any institutions. I have no faith in anything that you see on the news or read in a newspaper or, no faith in anything at all. And civilization can't flourish like that. So we're going to have to rebuild from the ground up. And yeah, I think you're a part of it. So have I got off on one? Have I got off on my usual rant about the problems in the world? Are the problems that you're going to face solely, are they solely personal to you? Well, let's find out. And I think the way to find out is to understand this tower moment. So I seek clarity on that, and the first card of clarity I get is the Six of Chalices. Reminiscing about the past. Well, I think we all are. But the past leads to the destruction. The next card we have is an Emperor, a powerful figure in authority. A powerful figure in authority brings about an end to everything. God, that sounds ominous, doesn't it? And then we have the Hierophant, going inside yourself and looking for answers. Yeah, you're thinking like I am, aren't you? And so we're getting clarity on what brings about this tower moment. And the first card of clarity is the Six of Chalices, reminiscing about the past. So it's the past that's creating the tower. So I don't know if you're like me, and I hate the word woken up, I hate this sort of awake and, but certainly the events of the last 4 weeks, I ought to start saying 4 years now. The events of the last 4 years were an absolute watershed for me. And it made me realise that these sorts of things have always been going on. It's just they've ramped it up, They've ramped up the greed, they've ramped up the lies, they've ramped up the manipulation, they've ramped up the authoritarianism, and it's always been going on. So the seeds of the destruction go back a long way. And, we are heading for a crisis, a tower moment, but I see it quite positively. I think it's going to be cathartic, as it is in your personal reading here. Things can only get better, as it were. Don't get me wrong, there will be some hard times, but ultimately it's for the best. And it is that, the blinkers have been taken off us. We've realised that we've always been lied to, manipulated by the greedy, by the powerful. And, it's time for change. Now, least you think, I'm a very religious person. Least you think I'm preaching bloody revolution or something like that. Let me say I'm not. I'm just saying start ignoring them. Just ignore them. Get on with your life. Get on with love. And start doing things for other people. And that way we can create a better world. And who's brought about this tower moment? The Emperor. So, somebody in power, somebody in authority, somebody with probably very conservative views, but also somebody we looked up to. Somebody we looked up to, somebody we believed, somebody who said, leave it all to me and I'll sort it out for you. Leave it up to me and everything's going to be all right. And it blatantly isn't, is it? It blatantly isn't. We put our trust in people, in authority, and we shouldn't have. Now, yeah, well, it's the opposite of the cream rising to the top, isn't it? But it's not them. It's not them. It's the structures we have. It's the very position of leadership that's wrong. And we need to start seeing things in that way. Don't blame the emperor. Blame the position of emperor. And I said I was a very religious person. So I'm certainly not preaching bloody revolution. I'm only preaching that we should start living our lives as God intended. And here we have the Hierophant card, consulting with probably formal religion, or certainly a sort of conservative way of doing things. So there's a sort of juxtaposition here, isn't there? The emperor, who is conservative and abuses authority. And then there's the conservative way of wanting to preserve the best, but not in abuse, out of love. And this is the seeds of the new world that we're looking for. A new world based on love, based on faith. So I think we can summarise for you now. Cancer, if you weren't already aware of how global events are going to impact on your life, you become acutely aware in August. In the past, you were brave, you were fearless. And I think you get the wind taken from out of your sails during August. But you start off August with many blessings. Probably quite secure, probably monetary blessings. You might be by yourself, however. But you're very blessed, you're very secure, somewhat prosperous. But this all comes crashing down. And it all comes crashing down as a result of problems within what I believe are the system, as it were, that date back a long way. We've been brewing up trouble for a long time, and it's going to manifest itself from those in authority. So somebody in authority is going to be responsible for bringing down certainly your world, but maybe all of our worlds. But you need to find forgiveness. The answer isn't retribution, the answer is love, the answer is going to be found in religion. But inevitably it means that you, and maybe all of us ultimately, are going to have to start life afresh. Start life afresh with a wide-eyed innocence. Yes, we'll make mistakes. Yes, we'll also have good times. But things can't carry on as they are. In fact, we know that because of everything's going to come crashing down. Now, a sensible thing to do is to be storing up assets. I avoid the word money here because I'm not certain what role it's going to play in the future. But storing up assets for the future, for a rainy day. What you're not to do is to get distracted by the fact that some people have played a game of winner takes all, and in doing so they've destroyed everything for everybody. Don't get distracted by that, because you won't find your own salvation by focusing on what others have done. But yeah, the world's changing. Your world is definitely changing. And, many people might see this as Armageddon type prediction, but it's not. You're rebuilding your life, you're rebuilding the world. We're going to rebuild a better world. And I see things quite positively. There's luck involved in this rebuilding as well.